Welcome back to the Contrarian, everyone. It's Logan. I hope you're all doing well. I'm just making this update video. It's about my running activity, which is definitely different than what I typically talk about, which is economics, finance related things on this channel. But today I'm really wanting to talk about my running because I have reached a new level with it, with consistency, with training, with dietary things I'll talk about. I have been able, by God's grace, to come back from a severe traumatic brain injury and run a sub-elite level half marathon yesterday, actually winning third overall out of about 3,600 runners. Very competitive field out there. Last year I got 34th or something like that. I was in the 1:23 time range, which is a pretty good time. This year I actually was 10 minutes faster, exactly 10 minutes faster at 1 hour, 13 minutes, 13 seconds. And so with that, that's about a 5:35 per mile pace. I actually was fairly consistent in the pacing throughout the race as well, which I think just reflects, hopefully the consistency is key thing that I'll talk about in both diet and training. So, just running right into the topics I wanted to talk about. There's a few items I have on this couch here in the Airbnb to show you guys because there's just a few simple things that I've incorporated that have enabled me to, over time, progress as a runner and just consistently improve. So, first off, in the training category, really things that helped me were consistency. Number one, consistency is key. It's unrealistic to kind of have a training plan that I don't really stick with, but then still expect to achieve goals later on. So regardless of what your goals are as a runner or athlete or whatever, health related goals you might have, I would just emphasize consistency is key. You have to have consistency because, your body will not respond well. It won't respond in the way you're looking for, most likely, if you're not giving it kind of the consistent input, whether it be from training or diet, fueling related things. So, within training, consistency, number one, was key. Also, incorporating double days. So days where I would run twice a day, once in the morning, once in the evening. These were really crucial for me as well because not only does it help me incorporate higher mileage into the week, so typically in the build up to this race and in the build up to a marathon I'm doing in 6 weeks from now, I did and will be doing about 70 to 80 miles a week. So incorporating doubles is really helpful for that because it means that running between 10 and 11 miles a day, I don't have to do all of that in one session. I can easily break it up into two different sessions, and the doubles would coincide with harder days. So I really tried to have my hard days be very hard and my easy days be very easy, just very easy mileage, easy pace kind of running. So my easy days, for example, might just be an easy 8-mile run in the morning at a 7:30 to 8:30 mile pace, something like that. Just a very conversational, easy, comfortable pace where, if anything, it's more of a recovery run and you're just feeling refreshed and ready to go after that. That'd be a good easy day for me. A hard day, I would do a moderate, 8-mile tempo or something like that in the morning, and then another 8 to 10 mile tempo or speed workout total, in mileage in the afternoon. And so that might be a hard day for me where it goes anywhere from 16 to 20 miles on the hard day. The easy day is lower mileage and easier pace. So doubles were very helpful for me. Number three actually was treadmill training. With a treadmill specifically, I was able to dial the pace in very precisely. So whereas when you're out running on trails or roads or etc., you encounter different variables that affect your pacing. On a treadmill, it was very helpful for me to be able to dial in my pace. And, like on a tempo type session, I could really dial it in to be, a 6-minute pace or a 5:30 pace. And, the treadmill really holds you to that because otherwise you're getting, kicked off the back of the treadmill. So you have to maintain a very specific pace that was very helpful for me actually. Was incorporating some treadmill running. Now, it is obviously important to still get out running outside, so I don't think a treadmill could be, majority of your training. Um, at least not for me. Now, actually, one thing that was really helpful is these so-called super shoes. This is the Hoka Mach X2. It's one of Hoka's super shoes that they make, where it's called a super shoe because it has a carbon fiber plate in the base of the shoe, so it makes it very rigid as a shoe. Like I can't really bend it very easily. Of course, the Nike Alpha Fly is the original super shoe. The Nike Alpha Fly is actually a little lighter than the Hoka Mach X2. I like the Hokas; they're a little more supportive, and a little more durable. The Nike Alpha Fly wouldn't last as long, but these are my racing shoes and kind of my more, occasional training shoes. Like, um, I definitely train in just a standard soft bottom shoe most of the time. So I don't use the super shoes very often, but in a race kind of setting, like what I had yesterday in the half marathon, they are very helpful because I do notice a big difference. They do make me more efficient as a runner. They just provide, more of a mechanical advantage to your foot when you're pushing off the ground. So I would recommend the super shoes for anyone who's kind of looking at a more advanced level of type of racing or training. Um, Maybe they'd be helpful for a beginner as well, but if you're a beginner, I would just really focus on upping your mileage and consistency, and that would really help the most. The super shoes could help too, but might come further down the road. So, now talking on, I don't have a coach actually. I am my own coach. If you wanted to get your own coach, that could be helpful too. But for me, with coaching myself as a runner, I think that it was very important for me to overall just pay attention and listen to my body. And that's really just acquired over time. Um, I can't say that I was very good at it at a specific time, earlier in my running experience. I would tend to either push myself way too hard when I should be holding back and, in order to prevent injury or things like that, or I would just not be timing things correctly in the grand scheme of things, because you really have to pay attention to the importance of when your racing cycle, when that buildup is having you peak versus, when that's coinciding with the actual races that you're trying to perform well at. Because, for example, I had a marathon that I ran about 3 months ago that I did not do that well. I didn't actually taper well for that. And because of that, I really didn't achieve the kind of time I could have in that race. There were other things that impacted it too negatively. I mean, the weather was not, um, it didn't coincide well on that day for a, great marathon time. But so there's other variables beyond, that which I could directly impact. But I think just overall listening to my body was really important. This time around, this training cycle, really paying attention. Oh, my calf is feeling particularly stiff after that workout. Let me do some extra icing, some extra, foam roller today on the easy day. Really try to get that feeling better, because I don't want it to progress into an injury that actually sets me back quite a bit. I want to, if anything, maybe kind of take that next hard day a little easier and then recover and build back from there. So just, listening to my body. I know it sounds cliche, a lot of people talk about it, but it is a challenge to do. I'm a good example of that. It was challenging for me to do. Now talking about diet, which I've talked about in the past. I've been on a carnivore / animal-based diet for almost 3 years now. And again, with that, consistency has been so important. Consistency in not eating processed food, not eating added sugar, all this other stuff that I think majority of people know is not helpful. But unfortunately, I think when it comes to dietary related changes and things like that, it is hard for people to have consistency in that area. And I'm not saying I'm perfect either, but very consistent. I have been very consistent in that area, and that has been very helpful for me to personally kind of notice what fruits are most helpful for me, what kind of meats, what like the protein to fat ratio in the meats is helpful for me, because everyone is unique in this area. So I don't expect like my diet to perfectly align with, the optimal diet for everyone who's trying to be great as a distance runner. Like, it won't be, because I am different than everybody else out there. So, like, whereas the super shoes helped me attain, greater efficiency as a runner, having a very high protein diet, form of majority of my calories coming from meat of some kind. I have a bunch of ground beef here that I brought with me to the race, but then also incorporating more fruit recently. So I have some dates here. These were actually my pre-race kind of sugar boost, if you could call it that, because dates are very sugary as a fruit. So unlike, previous races, I did actually incorporate a little bit of pre-race fueling into this race. So I had, of course, dinner the day before, an early dinner, giving my body plenty of time to digest overnight. I think I ate around 5 p.m. the day before. I got up around 3:30 for the half marathon, and I did have some fruit in the form of these dates. And I think that was actually very helpful for me, because typically I train in a fasted state. So I don't have breakfasts. I usually have 2 meals a day, a lunch and a dinner. So typically in the morning when I'm training, I'm in a fasted state. I am either training, using calories from the dinner the day before, or training with my body burning ketones, burning fat. And I think that is helpful, because it helps my body naturally be producing more ketones in the morning than it otherwise would. And so if I then incorporate something like these dates in addition to that as a pre-race kind of boost for carbohydrates, I think yesterday that was helpful in terms of almost supercharging my fueling, because not only could my body go to the ketones that it always does in the morning, but it could now go to the carbs as well. And so I felt very energized throughout the race. I didn't have to actually do any fueling during the race, because half marathon at this point for me is done in under an hour and 15 minutes. I mean, hour and 13 minutes is not that long. In a marathon, I do anticipate having to fuel during the marathon in 6 weeks, but the half marathon I just did, I didn't actually fuel during the race. So, fasted training has been helpful for me. Because I described just with the marathon or half marathon I did incorporate kind of a pre-race fueling. Um, so, overall, I would just emphasize that like results take time, whatever your goals are. Maybe it's distance running, maybe it's some other sport, maybe it's coming back from an injury,